Hello and welcome everyone to RSC Season 6. Tonight we have the Prospect Playoffs with myself, Archeon, and Blue Wolf beside me.
Good to be here. Looking forward to starting these playoffs off. I had a little bit of a taster of RSC last week and I'm ready to come for two more games and I'm desperate to see how these ones turn out. Who have we got playing in our first match?
Yeah, last week we started off with Major and Elite, sexy new overlays, sexy new ball, and now we've got the Prospect Playoffs. And tonight in the first game, it's Aerial and Kindling. Two teams who have had very much different seasons. And if we go to the team stats, we'll see that Aerial are the first seed tonight with Kindling in fourth. What can you tell me about the wins and stuff?
Well, one team has considerably more wins, and as you said, Aerial, they are the team that's the number one seed, and you'd expect them to have more wins. That is definitely the case. They have 63, Kindling just down there on 50, a 13-win gulf, and a similar gulf in the losses, 13 more for Kindling compared to Aerial. So the stats, the initial stats, the team stats, seem to sway fairly heavily in favour of Aerial. I guess we'll have to wait and see if that comes out in the server. What would you say, based on the early stats indication? I know we haven't seen players yet, but do you think things will be as one-sided as the team stats sort of show?
Well, Aerial have shown all season that they are the top of the pack. No one has caught them. They've pretty much held first all season. They did have multiple roster changes for the third and fourth spot throughout the season, but they finally settled on this current roster around week 9. And they have the player of the season as well. I mean, Fancy Penguin has 430 points per game in this league over 11 weeks. Now, that is just a considerable amount to hold up in an 11-week season. And Kindling were kind of the dark horses for this league. We predicted them 8th in power rankings at the start of the season. They did do well to hold the top 4 in the first, I think it was 8 weeks, but in between weeks 8 to 10, they lost 3 and drew 1 and looked like they were going to fall out of playoffs. I think they did for at least 1 week. And 2 of their players got poached by other teams. It wasn't until they found Roll Toxie that they actually started to pick up again. And yeah, they secured top 4 on the final game of the season. I think they swept Arcturus, which was a big shock as well. Arcturus were 3rd at that point, and they knocked Arcturus into the lower bracket. So, despite Kindling being a little bit lower than Aerial, I think we're going to be in for a cracking game. However, I think Aerial might take the edge.
Yeah, I mean, considering that Kindling did win their last game, maybe this could be a turn of the corner. You said the last game was a big surprise when they swept the team in 3rd. What could be a bigger surprise if we sweeping the team in 1st in Aerial? And I mean, Roll Toxie will have a lot of work to do, as I'm sure he's not the only player on Kindling that has had some good performances as well. Looking at the save statistics, 69 saves in 66 games for Grizzly Bear. It'll be a bit of a defensive maestro. They'll need him to step in, but I think it bears repeating. Fancy Penguin is such a quality player. He's in triple figures for goals. He's hit 101 in just 72 games. That's crazy numbers. And I think he could be the linchpin here if we do see Aerial go on to win this.
Yeah, and we've seen rosters rotating a lot this season. There have been a lot of cuts throughout the season. Real Spartak started the season on Ford Mondeo, another team that are in the lower bracket. Gandhi Sack was initially on Kindling, so he's back at his old team. Maybe a bit of fireworks coming in this one. And Toast as well was one of my players under Micah faction. We ended up removing him for like some mentality issues, like tilting a little. However, he's just come onto this team and proved that he should be a starting roster.
Well, it's very hard to get tilted when you're number 1 in the league. That's for certain. Toast has been cruising 67% wins in his time on Aerial, and I think they will be favourites. But we're going to discard Fancy Penguin because he's definitely cut above. If you're saying it's the other 3 players versus the 3 best from Kindling, would you say this would be an even match?
I definitely think it would be even. Obviously, we see progression a lot with teams throughout a season, especially one that's 11 weeks long. And Fancy will probably see himself in Challenger or Minor next season. So if we did take him out of the equation, it would be a more even game. However, Grizzly Bear came over from the bottom team in Droid, and Roll Toxic, as I said, was picked up as a free agent with 2 to 3 weeks left. And he scored over a goal per game, 29 goals in 28 games, and he might be the linchpin like Fancy Penguin is for Ariel.
Yeah, lots of storylines and a lot of players trying to put themselves in the shop window. You know, when you're in a lower division being prospect, you're looking up for yourself. You want to be in a higher division next season. And with such a game with a lot of viewership as this game will probably have, considering it is playoffs, it's a real chance to put yourself in the shop window. All 6 players on the server will be looking to do that. And Ariel, I'm going to predict them to win this. Would you agree with that? Or are you going to say that Kindling, they're a team that's on the up? Do you think they'll keep going up?
I do think Ariel are the favourites to put a run together in the upper bracket. I would like to see my team stop them in Micah, but they have to get through Terra first. So I would go for a 3-0 Ariel here, but Kindling have a lot to prove.
Well, they're going to have to start proving it pretty soon as we're underway here. 4 minutes 50 on the clock, 10 seconds gone, and that's a perfect start for Team Ariel. They already scored. It's going to be Gandhi's hitting the ball into the net. It's not going to be Fancy Penguin, but there are 3 other players on this team, and that's one of them, Spartax, with the assist, and that's the perfect start for Ariel.
Yeah, and Roll Toxic, the attacker for Kindling, found himself last man and just committed a tad too soon and misread the ball's bounce, and Ariel just putting themselves 1-0 up in 20 seconds, and you can't ask for a more perfect start, really, in the playoffs.
Maybe they feel shell-shocked on the new track, the Season 3 circuit of DFH Stadium, and they could concede another one. Spartax is shot deep by Roll Toxie. Those two are leading in. Fancy Penguin looking to get in on the action, bumps a player out of the way. That leads to a shot from Gandhi. That's going to be cleared away, though, by Ollie, and it feels at the moment that Kindling, they've been penned into their own box, and this could be a dreadful start from them if another goal goes in, which it does from Fancy Penguin. Bit of a weird one there. They seem to have way too long on the ball. 2 players semi-double commit on the attack. Him and Spartax basically beside each other. No one challenges, and the ball is slotted into the bottom right.
Yeah, there's just no challenge in the defense. Grizzly Bear looked to rush back into the net, but then he slammed on his brakes into the middle of the goal. At the end of the day, if you're not going to stick at the back post, you just need to go and commit, and he just stopped in the middle of the goal. I think Kindling are just giving too much respect to Ariel right now, and they just seem penned into their own box.
Maybe they're paralysed looking at the stats sheet the way we were amazed seeing Fancy Penguin. He's gone and got another one. It's 3-0 in the game. We're hoping it's not going to be 3-0 in the series, but the early indications are that it will be. Ariel looking so dominant so far.
Yeah, it's just relentless. There's no let up for the Kindling defense right now, and Ariel have had 5 shots and already put 3 of them away. Kindling really need to sharpen that defense up. They just look like they're panicking at the moment.
Kindling have 0 shots exactly. That could have been one there. Gandhi accidentally takes the ball off the toes of one of his teammates, and this could lead a bit of an attack. Fancy Penguin with the interception, saved by Roll Toxie. A pretty easy one for him. Looks like he might be tested again. It's Grizzly Bear back. He makes the save from Gandhi's. The flick on from Spartax. Here comes Fancy Penguin. The shot straight down the middle. And wow, this is not what I was expecting. I thought Ariel were going to win, but who would have seen this coming?
I thought Ariel were going to win, but this is total domination in the first 2 minutes. And ideally, I'd say this isn't what you want to see in the playoffs, because it's totally one-sided right now. Kindling either need to sharpen the defense now and look to the next game, or they just need to go all-out attack and just try and get anything back right now.
Well, yeah, they have a chance to sort of mentally reset themselves. They know that this game is probably a foregone conclusion, but they can try and calm down a little bit and get themselves into this series a little bit. But so far, this has been an absolute statement from Ariel, and I think every other team in the playoffs, they'll be feeling pretty scared right about now.
The mechanics coming out though from Aerial, it just looks like they're freestyling for fun at the minute. I mean, Gandhi Stack is already pre-jumping that in the middle of the field. The confidence is high right now in Aerial.
And why wouldn't it be? You're 4-0 up with half of the game still to be played. I don't think there's been a single shot yet from the Kindling side. That might change now. Gandhi is up, taps that one away. Ollie looking to follow through. Fancy Penguin takes that one away from him. Tries to set up his teammates in the box. It looks like Gandhi not going to be contested. Ends up hitting it wide. I'm not sure if that was a pass on or just a horrendous miss of the ball. As Spartak's the third man to have a go. That's saved by Roll Toxie after his teammate missed it in the air. He gets Demo trying to clear things away, and with 2 minutes, it seems like we might be seeing a complete shutout here. Where Kindling, they haven't even got a single shot so far.
They haven't, but looking at the scoreboard, that man Fancy that we talked about all pre-show, he's the one with the goals. Real Spartax is the one setting him up and feeding them. But again, Kindling, 0 shots. They just, I think this is one of the first times they've been outside their own half.
Well, I had a chance for a shot there. That's pretty dreadfully over from the open net opportunity as Fancy Penguin looking to lead that one away. And we know Fancy Penguin is the star player, but to be honest, I feel like every single man on Aerial has stepped up so far. It's been a real team effort from them. Fancy trying to get the air dribble. He doesn't get it. Grizzly Bear, that could be their first shot. Nope, not that one. Spartax accidentally flicks him on. That shot is over from Ollie, and with a minute on the clock, this game is basically over. Maybe a chance for a few players to open their accounts in the series. Maybe get a few consolation goals, perhaps, as Ollie will be looking for one. He's intercepted by Spartax, and wow, 45 seconds on the clock. The game's slowed down a bit, but it's still Aerial. They don't need to press now. They have the comfortable advantage, and they could almost just freestyle the rest of this game and still cruise comfortably into game number 2.
Yeah, they just need to get a bit of momentum and take that into the next game. 1 goal may be all it takes for them to get the confidence up. But 4-0 down in this game, it's going to take a lot to bounce back in the next one.
I guess I'll take some solace in the fact that it's been about 3 minutes since the last goal scored by Aerial. They have slowed down a little. They might change that now, though, as they are on the attack. Flick on from Gandhi, it's not actually there, he just about misses it, and Ollie should be able to hit this one down the under of the pitch. We should be seeing game 1 out. A 4-0 victory for Team Aerial, and you've got to be feeling bad if you're a Kindling fan.
The good thing about being a Kindling fan right now, though, like you said, they've spent the last 3 minutes defending very well. They've not conceded a shot since going 4-0 down. But they still didn't manage a shot. There's just no attacking pressure from Kindling. They need to get out of the box, and at the moment, they just look panicky. I think they're giving too much respect to Aerial, and they just need to close them down. I know people complain about monkeying in the game, but they really do need to just jump on top of those cars and just shut them down, because Aerial's strength is in the air.
Yeah, and that's been borne out in this first game. And I mean, looking at the player stats, there's one man on the Kindling side who actually has a good goals to game ratio, and that's going to be Roll Toxie. He scores basically a goal every game he plays, and I think they really need him to find the net in their next few games if they want to avoid getting swept here and maybe try and turn this series around. Do you think mentally they'll be stronger in game 2, or do you see Aerial just continuing their dominance?
Well, they 100% need to be stronger mentality-wise, because if not, they're just going to get walked all over in the next 2 games. They really need to, like I said, shut them down. A lot of teams have figured out how Aerial play over the last few weeks, obviously with it being a long season. So they just need to shut them down in the air and not give them any space.
Well, I feel like Kindling, they lack a little bit of passion. Maybe that comes from the team being a little bit of a Theseus' ship, as in players come, players go. Free agents come in to patch holes in the team, and maybe they don't really have the amount of passion that Aerial have, considering they've been playing with almost the same roster most of the way through the season. As we are live into game number 2, is Kindling, they're going to have to try and find the solution to the problem that Aerial is posing them, and that's a shot within 10 seconds. That's going to be encouraging. That if that had gone in, it has from Fancy Penguin, and I've got to eat my words. Within 5 seconds of their first shot, Fancy Penguin has his first shot of game number 1. or game number 2, sorry, and follows it in with a double touch to make it 1-0.
They defended so valiantly in the final 3 minutes of that first game, and that's just gone to waste in the first 10 seconds of this one. I don't know what is going on with the defense, but it just looks so panicky. You can tell Toxie is the main man in attack, because at the moment when he's last man, he's conceded each time he's been attacked on.
Yeah, maybe they've tried to change up the balance of the team. They needed to be more attacking. You're not going to win any games with 0 shots, and they've had 2 already in this game, so things have definitely changed, but that might lead to them letting a few slip in the back. And Fancy Penguin with a shot. That's an open net. Where are all the defenders? You need them to be there. You need that third man. He's not there, and it's a 2-0 advantage for Ariel here.
There's just double commits all over the place in this first 40 seconds. I don't know what is going on with Kindling, but someone needs to remind them, this is the upper bracket. If they lose this, they've only got 1 chance left. And at the moment, if they play like this in the lower bracket as well, then there's only one result that's going to come out.
And that result will be an aerial sweep, which looks likely here as Gandhi has put in a third goal. The ball was bouncing dangerously on the line. I thought that flick on from the defending player from Spartak's shot had been enough, but Gandhi with the Fennec comes flying in and taps that ball into the net. And with a minute gone, it feels like we're in the exact same place we were last game, with Kindling staring down the barrel of another defeat.
I was just going to say, Blue Wolf, I think I'm in the DeLorean tonight, because this is exactly what was happening 10 minutes ago, or 5 minutes ago, sorry. It's just identical. 3-0, a minute gone. All too panicky in the Kindling defence. It's always 2 people on the line, and they just can't reach it again in the third goal.
I think they've tried to change things up a little bit. They knew they had to be more attacking, and it really just hasn't worked out. It's just led to more defensive frailties that Ariel have been more than willing to exploit. Fancy Penguin with a shot. The third man back is Grizzly. Just about makes the save. Tips that one onto the crossbar. Ball's not dealt with though. Ollie on the back lines. That flick is not going in from Spartak's. Ball is still constant pressure on that net. That's come flying in again. That's a miss from Ollie. Toxie facing the wrong way. Let's Fancy Penguin get possession of the football. He'll be looking to flick this one towards the net. He misses, which is a pretty rare occurrence, but his team have recovered and the ball has been cleared. Kindling, they look to start their first attack, and it could be their first goal. It is. Ollie, the man who doesn't score often, scores every other game, and he's done that here with his first goal in game number 2.
This could be the momentum breaker for Kindling. This is what they need to keep in mind when they go on in this last half of the match. They've finally got the first goal of the series. They can break Ariel down. Ariel do have defensive flaws, and that could have been a second there. What a save by Fancy though. Can Grizzly put it in? No. So unfortunate that there isn't a second goal, but this is what Kindling needed in that first game. They're finally showing it in the second half of this game.
Well, you made the Back to the Future reference. I want to reference a different 80s movie. It feels like we're in Freaky Friday and the teams have switched positions, and all of a sudden it seems like Kindling are the ones attacking. We saw that triple shot. Sadly, no goals going in, and could be another one here as Ollie goes up for the 50. Somehow wins it, but not really going to threaten the net, and someone gets stuck on the post, and Toxie, 2 players in the net, neither of them in any position to make the save, and this might be a comeback from Kindling.
Could this be the arrival of Toxie as well? We've been bigging him up since the first, since the stream went live, and he's finally pulled up with his first goal of the series. It took 7 minutes throughout the games. However, he's finally done it. He's now got 30 goals in 29 games. Can he add to that?
Well, at the moment it looks like he certainly will, as the pressure has been all with Kindling. Real Spartaks and co looking like they have woken up a little bit. That is a shot cleared away by Ollie. Ollie looking to flick on for his teammates. That's a pretty bad pass in the end. It should lead to a little bit of a defensive calm down from Ariel. They should be able to get the ball under their control and start their own attack. Gandhi with the flick on towards Penguin. I thought he would have had that, but he was just a little bit over the bar. I thought it was a guaranteed goal from him. He might have a chance here. The double commit. Gandhi just beside him. It's a shot from Spartaks to flip the wrong way from the keeper. And that might just be the goal that helps Ariel steady the ship here.
All too panicky again. It always seems like it's Ollie and Grizz on the line, and they just don't react to it quick enough. like I said, aerial strengths are in the air, and if you're just going to let someone freestyle into the box and panic on the end ball, the only outcome is going to be a goal, and it shows it there.
Maybe some definite changes needed from Kindling. They are still in this game, 2 goals between the two sides, and if they can get back to the side they were just a minute ago, we might be seeing this game heat up considerably. Roltoxi on the attack. This could be a flick from Spartak. So I was hyped for our best goal of the series. He doesn't deliver. The flick doesn't really go anywhere. And they've managed to get the ball away here. Grizzlies hit the ball over Fancy Penguin, who does get it away, only as far as Roltoxi. That's a shot hit off the line by Spartax. There's no third man to follow it in. Ollie's a little bit too far back. Does commit for it in the end. Doesn't get a touch. Fancy Penguin's flick could land for Gandhi. There's no one in the net. Oh, if he'd have turned that one the right way, there was no one to cover it. But in the end, they managed to recover. And it feels like there's some serious defensive issues here for Kindling.
There's definitely defensive issues. 12 shots put on their own net. However, they have had 9 shots themselves this game. This is going to be a 10th. Maybe an 11th as well. They definitely ramped up the attacking pressure, and that might be where they're conceding the goals. But at the end of the day, they conceded 4 in the last game and had 0 shots. So they are trying up something different with the play. It's just whether it pays off.
Yeah, 10 seconds on the clock. That ball needed to go in. It feels like it's too late, and Gandhi is going to make it 5 goals. This game is over. 2-0 the score in the series for Ariel. But things are definitely looking on the up for Kindling. They scored 2 goals in this game. They had way more shots than they did in the last. This time they had 11. Last time they had 0. So maybe next game they might have 22. And then maybe they might win that game and prevent a sweep.
Yeah, they just might need to look towards improving the shot accuracy. They made Ariel make 6 saves this game. Fancy with 5 of them. However, I think some of the shots were just at the middle of the net and straight at the keeper. I think we might be remaking the lobby here.
I think that would be a fair interpretation.
Yeah, but like we said pre-game, Fancy looks like the dominant player in this series. Top the leaderboard last game, top the leaderboard this game. Like you said earlier, do you think this would be a more even game without Ariel, without Fancy Penguin being on Ariel?
I think it would be very uneven if Ariel weren't in the server, but then maybe Kindling wouldn't even be able to score a goal if we were going off game 1 Kindling. I think Fancy Penguin, obviously I think his team would be a little bit worse without him, but I do think that Spartax and Gandhi's, they've been pretty good, and I don't know anything about Toast personally. You could shed a lot more light on that, but I think even if Toast was in the server instead of Fancy Penguin, I do think they would be the better side, although it would be definitely a lot closer.
Toast is definitely similar to Fancy though as well. He is a mechanical god pretty much for Prospect. He won Clip of the Week earlier on in the season with I think a double flip reset, double tap. I might be getting my mechanics wrong at my old age, but he definitely won Clip of the Week with something outrageous, which I can't do at my rank. I'm just noticing in the lobby, have we got Paul in? Okay. I think we'll have to restart the lobby here.
Yeah, I mean,
players have kicked off, so let's just tell them to restart.
Maybe it'll be a chance just for Kindling just to sit and knock the ball around, calm things down a little bit, and maybe just practice putting the ball in the net, which is something they need to do a lot more in this game number 3. At the moment, it feels like a sweep is inevitable, but I've seen teams in worse scrapes pull through, and maybe this would be a time we could talk about what other games we've got coming up tonight. I know I'm casting another game later. I'm not sure. Are you doing the second one with me as well?
I'm on all tonight, yes.
Oh, looking forward to that one then.
Yeah, we have the 2nd and 3rd seed after this game. We've got Terra versus Micah Faction. Micah Faction being my team. And then later on, we will see one of the lower round 1 games. Bit of a different format tonight with it being over 2 nights. So we will get to see one of the lower games between Ford Mondeo waiting as a 6th seed to see who loses between Terra and Micah Faction. But we are just trying to sort the lobby out and get the stream fixed at the moment. Blue Wolf, what do you think Kindling need to do now to get back into this series? They showed a little glimpse of life in the second game.
I don't know, really. It's kind of hard to say because it's not like it's a small thing that they could fix. It just feels like, well, offensively in game 2, I think they were all right. Most of the shots, as you did say earlier, were straight at the keeper, but it was definitely an improvement. I think personnel-wise, I don't think there's a single player who's really lacked as much. I feel like defensively, Grizzly Bear and Ollie they've been a bit iffy when they've been last man back, and just making sure you don't double commit. Make sure you have a player always in the net, because in that game number 2, I think Ariel had 2 or 3 goals that were just hitting the ball into empty nets, which you hate to see.
Yeah, it just looked all a bit too panicky from those two. Even when Roll Toxie was last man though as well, it just looks like they can't cope with the aerial presence of Ariel. Excuse my pun. But yeah, definitely a little glimpse of life from them. And the lobby is back up. We will start to join and hopefully get the players in. But yeah, the Kindling will be a little bit pleased with how they came back in game 2. They've got the goals. They've put 9 shots on goal. I think it's now just getting the shot accuracy a little bit better and definitely working on that defense.
Yeah, Ollie has a shot accuracy percentage of 23%, which is the worst out of all 8 players on the stats sheet. He's scored one of their only 2 goals, and he's really not an offensive man, and he's not really contributed enough on the defense either, so not a great night from him so far. Roll Toxie's been, I feel, a little bit better, but compared to how we were talking about in pre-game, I still feel a little bit disappointed. I feel like everyone on the aerial side, though, has pulled their own weight significantly, and I think they will be feeling very confident going into this game number 3. Kindling, they need to do some soul kindling. Excuse the pun. It was intentional, I should be honest, but I had to do it. Do you think Kindling have a way back here, or do you think this is totally done and dusted?
I said before the game Ariel would win 3-0, and I haven't changed my mind. Like I said as well, Kindling were dark horses for this league. We predicted an 8th. They did prove us wrong. They got in the top 4. They did get into the upper bracket. However, there was a period between week 8 and 10 where it looked like that was out of the question. And I just think it's a bit too much to ask of this new roster because they have only been playing together for 2 to 3 weeks.
I guess there's a question though, is this enough for them? Are they happy that they made it this far? I know obviously everyone wants to win, but whenever you're predicted 8th and you make it all the way to the upper bracket of the playoffs, is there a part of them that is maybe just like, okay, maybe we lose to Ariel. Ariel are the best team in the division. Maybe that's fine, maybe we'll just accept this. Or do they have that passion to just go, right, this is it. We are still in the playoffs. We can do this. We can come back. I guess it really just depends. It speaks to their mentality. Do you think you could shed any light on
that? I know they love playing together. I think I know Ollie and Coldfire get on really well, and Grizz has really come into there, and Roll Toxie as well, and done really well. This is Roll Toxie's first league. I think he's come as a freestyler, so it's new to him. So I think he'd be pretty pleased with where they've got into the top bracket. However, I do think that Ariel's just a step too far for them, and yeah, I just can't see it being anything but 3-0.
Well, we have had a personnel change. Toast has come in. It's actually going to be Real Spartax who's come out. A little bit of a weird one considering you said Fancy Penguin and Real Spartax and Fancy Penguin and Toast, had a similar sort of play style. And maybe this is just them going, okay, we want to give Toast a run out, get him warmed up for playoffs. Seems like a bit of a weird decision from my view.
I think Toast is one of the main roster players anyway, so I don't think it's too much of a difference with him coming in. I believe they took out Spartax, and I think Spartax has been one of the sub players for a while. But like I said, all these players are mechanical, and I think they all offer the same benefits with their aerial presence. I think Gandhi acts as that bit of a defensive enforcer, so that Fancy, Toast, and Spartax can freestyle on people. But as we've seen, they've gone 1-0 up in the first minute, and I mean, the benefit that Kindling will see from this is that they've not conceded 3 already.
I was about to say that, yeah. That's probably the biggest positive Kindling can take from this game number 3 so far, as it has been fairly consistent pressure held as firmly at their net as Toast might have a chance here. He's facing the wrong way, so he'll just sit and let Fancy Penguin deal with that one. Does eventually scramble that ball away. Grizzly Bear with a chance to shoot. That's a flick from Fancy Penguin that could have been very awkward if it had ended up in his own net. Fancy with the clearance. Roltoxi looking to follow this one in. So a little bit of an attack here being built up by that side of Kindling as Toast looks to break all their momentum with a 1v1 dribble. Gets it around the player, but Ollie's able to stabilise and clear things away. And at the moment, this is looking like the most 50-50 game we've seen so far.
It definitely is, but Kindling still need to put a shot on goal. As I say, that Roltoxi gets one in, and almost a second there, Fancy with a good save, just about managed to get back onto the post. But yeah, it's a lot more even. They finally have the first shot on goal. I still think Ollie and Grizz need to push up a little bit further. They always seem to be sat on the line together, and some of the plays just don't develop because they're too far back. And again, Grizz and Ollie on the goal line sat together. I just kind of feel it's a bit of a weird position to be in.
Yeah, the problem is that their substitute player, Coldfire, the only man who's not playing for them, he actually has scored less goals than anyone else on the server in about the same amount of games as players like Gandhi. So it's like they can't even make a substitution to bring in someone more attacking. You've not got a Fancy Penguin on your squad. He's done an aerial dribble. I think he was helped a lot by Gandhi knocking all the keepers out of the way, but he doesn't care. That's a good aerial dribble from him, and it's 2-0 in favour of Ariel in this game number 3. Sweep well and truly on the cards.
I was going to say, why did no one challenge that? But I just saw Gandhi just get the bump on the, I think, Roltoxi. And Grizz did everything right going onto the backboard, but he just didn't jump early enough. And it seems like that sums up Kindling's series, really. Just too hesitant about when to go. It just looks like they don't know how to cope with an aerial team.
Well, if there was ever a time not to be hesitant, it is now. 1 minute 45 on the clock. You're 2-0 down. You're fighting for your upper bracket life, and they're going to be on the defensive foot here as I think two players bump into each other. Toast demos Ollie as he tries to save it. The ball goes into the net. And look here at the corner. I think Grizzly Bear and I think it was Roltoxi drove into each other.
And that's the punishment you get for rotating ball side, even at this rank. We have seen Toast come into this lobby and he's vying with Fancy Penguin for that MVP. I'm sure Fancy will want to take MVP in every single game he's played, but Toast is here with 2 goals out of 3 shots. I mean, Gandhi, we need to talk about him really, because he looks like the person who sacrifices his own gameplay so that everyone else can do their thing. And sometimes you're not going to get into the All-Stars, you're not going to get into the Player of the Season, but sometimes that's all a team needs, isn't it? Just someone who can allow other players to play their game.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about players wanting to play in a higher division next season or whatever, but if you're a player like Gandhi, you're the player who gets your team the trophy. I mean, famous real football quote, Didier Deschamps said he was the water boy in the French 98 World Cup team, and Gandhi seems to be the water boy here for Ariel, and he might be the X factor that took them to a 3-0 lead. You might look at the stats on ball chasing afterwards and see, oh, Fancy Penguin scored X number of goals, Toast scored X number of goals. There might have just been Gandhi the man who actually got them this win. That's a shot from Ollie. It might be too little too late, or maybe it might not. What do you think? 28 seconds here.
I think it's too little too late, personally. Leaving it with 30 seconds to go. I don't think they've scored 3 goals in a game at all this series, so it is going to be a massive ask. You never know, though, in Rocket League, anything can happen. 20 seconds now.
Well, they have got possession of the ball, which is a good thing. Saying that, Fancy Penguin steals it away from them. Toast able to take that one under his wing, looking to hit it up in the air. Just hit it up in the air just to kill time. Also set up Gandhi for a double touch, which he gets. 4 goals go the way of Ariel. 3 game wins for them. 4 seconds on the clock. A lot of numbers, but all you need to know is that Ariel have won the series.
I mean, we call Gandhi Sack a water boy. And if your water boy is doing stuff like that, then we need 3 water boys on the team because, I mean, that's just delightful. And he's just putting in another one for the winner. Toast, though, come into this game and he's looking like he's going to get MVP. Really good game from him, seeing as they've done a mid-game sub.
It feels like Toast is sort of... It feels like this game, Kindling thought maybe this is doable, and then they just bring in Toast just to show them that they never had a chance. This game was dead from the outset. I mean, Toast comes in, he gets the MVP, great performance from him, and that's just the series completely gone from Kindling. They'll be racking their brains, wondering where it all went wrong. They've met a team that is just magnitudes better than them, and that's not a good performance at all.
No, and when you've got to go into the lower bracket, I think they'll actually benefit from the system today and tomorrow, with it being split into 2 nights. I think they can recuperate, and I mean, they obviously have to win this next game that they're playing tonight. However, I think if they can win that and get a bit of momentum going into the tomorrow's series, I think they'll appreciate a bit of a break, because it was quite a one-sided series, and it's like what we said pre-show. I think if you take Fancy out of that team, it would have been a lot even.
Yeah, maybe, but we saw how well Toast played, and maybe he would just be Fancy version 2 if Fancy wasn't there to steal all the goals. Maybe Toast would be the person who'd be just pumping them in, and I think the real issue for Kindling is they don't have that talismanic offensive player. Some of their players, Ollie and Coldfire, who didn't play today, they don't really score that many goals, and that's been a real issue for them. Real Toxie's got a decent ratio, but he's sort of the newest player. He's still sort of getting bedded in completely to the team, and they really need to find the offensive answers in their next game if they want to keep going in these playoffs.
Yeah, certainly. I think this is one of the lower MMR teams to be in the playoffs, especially seeing as 2 of their players went to different teams in the final few weeks. Gandhi did go to Ariel, and he's just proved why he was such a good pickup. And obviously James went to Challenger, went up for Division to be the Obscures sub. So Kindling maybe ruin those missed players. Not to disrespect Raul Toxie, though, because he has been the one to guide them into the final playoffs in the final few weeks. Like I said, it's just a one-sided game from Ariel, I think, and there's no taking that away from them.
Yeah, certainly. Words are difficult. What will we be seeing next, Mr. Archeon? Have we got more games coming tonight?
We have the upper round one next at 21 CEST. So 22 minutes. We have Terror versus Micah Faction, and then we have the lower round one with Ford Mondeo waiting to see who loses in that game so that they can play them. So a lot coming your way. Apologies about the overlay. I think something's broke, and we will be fixing that in the break. So apologies for the overlay. We'll look to get that fixed as soon as possible, but we will be back in 20 minutes. Don't go anywhere.